Good afternoon, everyone. All right, so it's 2 o'clock right on the dot, and we're just waiting for a couple more people to get here. And then we'll get started.
Thanks all. So one more minute. Folks just hopped on. We're giving other people just another minute, and then we'll get going.
All right, I think almost everyone's here, so I think we can get it going. So I know it might take the whole hour, so we don't want to waste any time. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, From Chaos to Clarity. We're thrilled to have you here with us to explore AI, specifically Copilot, and how it can transform the way we work. My name's Sonia. If you guys don't know me, I'm the marketing manager here at Advantage Industries, and I'm going to be behind the scenes monitoring the chat. So please feel free to enter any questions that you guys have, and then we're going to make sure to address them throughout the presentation. To get us started, I wanted to ask you guys a question to see where we're at, like as far as how familiar you are with Copilot business, or Copilot AI for business, I should say. You can submit your answer and we'll just take a look.
I'm going to say very familiar, Sonia.
Yeah, I hope so. So it looks like still going, but around 42% have heard of it but haven't used it. So that's great, because that's what this
You're in the
webinar
right place.
is for. So that's what we want to hear. If you guys were very familiar, then I don't know how much you gained. So this is great. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Russell, who is our VCIO and sales engineer here at Advantage Industry. He brings hands-on experience in aligning technology with business goals, and he's been a driving force here in how Copilot AI is transforming workflows. So let's dive in. Russell, take it away.
Thank you, Sonia, for the kind introduction.
Of course.
Very happy to be here today. Recognize a lot of familiar names. We have some current Advantage partners. So I think you know a lot about us. We have some new folks as well. So we are, if you're not familiar, we are a full service managed IT and security partner. And one of the things we do these days is a lot of more than just the basic keeping the computers running. We want to figure out ways that we can leverage technology to help your staff work more efficiently, productively, grow your business. And so with that in mind, today is going to be an introduction to Copilot AI, which is Microsoft's end user AI tool. We will be in future webinars looking at some of the company-wide, organization-wide business intelligence products, but today is really going to be focused on how you or your staff can directly be using AI to make their workflows more efficient. We're going to focus on Microsoft Copilot. We're a Microsoft shop, but there's some very strong advantages there, which we want to share with you. We're also going to touch on some other AI tools like ChatGPT and the differences between them. So that's probably the right place to start out. And Sonia, if you could bring up that slide. Thank you. So I'm going to talk, before we even get into free Copilot and paid Copilot, I do want to mention other AI tools. So there are a lot of companies in this space ChatGPT, which is part of OpenAI, is probably the most notable and famous. A lot of people see them as a market leader. There are tools like Grok. Google has Gemini. Copilot is Microsoft's name and brand for their AI assistant. And it also, because, and we're going to take a look at this, it does also give you access to ChatGPT because Microsoft is one of OpenAI's largest investors. So as we're looking at this in terms of Copilot, some of these things are also going to be related to ChatGPT today. So we're going to take a look at two flavors. I'm going to show you these in just a moment, but there is a free Copilot and there's a paid Copilot. And the paid Copilot is illustrative. That's going to be our focus today. That's really, I think, why you want to look at Copilot versus another AI tool. But this is a good intro. So both products have a application software that you can download. You can also use them through a web interface. Free Copilot is open to the public as well as organizations. So it's something that you can use at home. They both are built largely around, at the moment, ChatGPT 4. Microsoft has their own flavor that they've customized and licensed for that. They also do have access to ChatGPT 5, though, and so we'll be able to take a look at this. You are limited in terms of the complex requests you can make on the free agent, things like generating an image. So you've got a cap of 15 for free, you've got 100 or more potentially for paid. The biggest thing, and we're going to dive into this, is Copilot paid connects into the rest of your Microsoft 365 Office environment. So everything that you've set up in SharePoint, OneDrive, your calendar, Teams, all of these things are accessible by the paid version of Copilot and feed data into it. And that's really the power of Copilot, that integration with the rest of your ecosystem. The free version, and this is definitely a choice on Microsoft's part, doesn't have access to any of that data that your organization has already set up. That's going to be the same with a lot of external or third-party services as well. Now, very crucially, if you are signed in to the free version of Copilot, it applies enterprise-grade protection. So as long as you're signed in with your work email, that is going to put those security fences around anything you submit in. So your data will not be used to train large language models. Nothing is free. So AI tools that are free, typically that data feeds back to the AI and is used to better the AI. What this means in practice is that while the companies do work to scrub identifying information, there have been instances in the past where identifiable information has gotten out and has been regurgitated in a format on the other side of the world. Samsung had a case a couple years ago where proprietary code had been uploaded to an OpenAI, and that code can spill out, or those methods and techniques can spill out. If you're signed in, Microsoft doesn't use that data beyond your immediate request. So we're going to cover that, obviously. And then meeting support, the free version is not going to help you record meetings, but Microsoft has two ways to do that, which we'll be looking at today. And I think we're ready to dive into it there. So let's hop over and take a look at the Copilot app. I'm going to share my screen. After we look at the app, we're going to pause for some questions before we move on to some of the Microsoft applications. So do pop your questions into chat. We'll make sure we get to them all. Thank you, Sonia. So what we're going to start off with is basically making sure that your staff are signed in to Copilot, even if they're using the free version. We have a concept that we use in IT called shadow IT, which means if you have not provided your people the tools they need, they will go find them on their own. So I can almost guarantee that your staff are, you have staff members that are using things like ChatGPT right now. We want to provide them a safe method to do that. We don't want this shadow IT infrastructure. So that's where we're going to start today. These apps are available for Macs as well, but Microsoft, of course, makes it easy. You can just type in your search bar, Copilot, and you're going to see one or maybe two apps here. You've got Copilot and you've got Microsoft 365 Copilot. So Copilot is just the consumer version, and I'm going to go ahead and open that up right now. It's very consumer focused, right? It's pictures and they're friendly. What you want to look for is, are you signed in or not? I can hit this little side panel and I get sign in here. Now, if I try to sign in with my work email, it is going to detect that this is an organization email and falls under Microsoft security settings, and they are automatically going to prompt me to open or download Microsoft 365 Copilot. So it will ask you to do this if you don't already have it, so you can sign in securely. I'm going to hop over to that app, and what you want to look for on the Microsoft 365 Copilot app is your name in the bottom. So that should be your name and your organization email. If you're doing that, your data is protected the same way that Microsoft protects what you have in OneDrive or SharePoint or your emails. So first step one, before you do anything else, make sure you're signed in and you're working safely. You don't want to have a data spill of company information. At this point, the interface should be pretty familiar to you in many ways. If you have used things like ChatGPT or the free version of Copilot or Google Gemini. You've got a search box here where you can type in queries or requests very simply, and I'm going to make it IT focused, but what are the elements of a business continuity plan? And what it's going to do at this stage, if I'm just on the free version, it only has access to web resources, external resources, remember. And so what I'm going to get back is information it culled from various external websites. These will be credentialed, there are citations. You can go in and ask it for additional information. View prompts, let's click on that a second. And it's going to do suggestions. That's always a helpful place if you're a little stuck, but it also gives you ones right here, like let's make this a checklist. And it's going to do that for me. I find Copilot, it's ChatGPT as well, very useful for as a starting point in this case. If I'm not confident on all the elements of a business continuity plan, this is going to give me a very tight outline to work from. You will notice that the more complex the request, it may take a little longer here, and that's what we're seeing here, but then it's going to put it together, build a template or checklist, lets me export it to Excel or a PDF. And I can just hit on that, and in a minute, I'm going to have an Excel spreadsheet with this checklist. Or here's a download Word document. Now, and I have all the things that I can drag a file from my computer into the chat box. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to take this Windows 10 to 11 document that we wrote up a couple months ago. And if I just drag that document in and hit go, it's going to generate a summary of the document for me. That's a default automatic behavior. So even here where I'm not technically using paid features, I'm using free features right now. It doesn't have access to my SharePoint, but I can manually drag a file in and ask it questions about that file. So here we've got a nice little outline, and I've got some options to format it, create a flyer, but this is a very nice outline of everything we needed to cover on there. So it's great for summarizing documents. Again, even the free version can be used for things like summarize this document, create a table, show me what's changed from version 1 of the document to version 2. That's something we used on an RFP earlier this year, where we fed in 2 versions of the RFP and then had it highlight the changes for us so we could address those specific concerns. Now, the power, one more thing before I move on. You'll notice I have a button up here that says try GPT-5. And so I can hit that. And now I'm not using the flavor of GPT-4 that Copilot natively uses. I'm using GPT-5. We've found in the last couple weeks, you may want to do that. It's giving more sophisticated answers. It's probably a little better at writing. But I appreciate that Microsoft gives you this button, and I can turn it off right here. If you remember just 3 weeks ago, or was it 4 weeks ago when GPT-5 came out, the first week we were all reading in the news about problems with it, extra hallucinations, not consistent answers. So Microsoft, because they are focused on the business market, they're going to be a little more conservative in their approach. So OpenAI wants to be first. Grok wants to be first. Microsoft is going to slow that tempo a little bit because they're striving more for accuracy. When they do want you to have access to the new features, again, they're a major investor in OpenAI, but they're giving you the option to turn it on or off, which I really appreciate. So you can actually try putting the same question into both on and off, choose the answer you like better. Now, what does the paid version do for me? Quite a few things. It has integration with the rest of my environment. So it can do things like summarize messages for my manager. The AI is pretty smart. It knows that Keith, our company president, is my manager. And if I click on that, it is going to summarize messages that he sent me in the last 48 hours. So very powerful. It does understand your organization structure, who reports to, because it has access to your Microsoft 365 backend. I can get updates from Phil. So I can say so here's a good example. When's my next meeting with Phil? And now obviously I can look at this, but you can start using it as a planner. So it is not only going to show me my next meeting in a moment with Phil, and it is directly looking at my Outlook calendar for this. And Phil's having some IT jokes here. So Breaking Bad watch party, try restarting your machine. Now, it can help me prepare for that meeting. Now we're getting interesting here. So let's say we've got a meeting on a topic. It will actually suggest reading materials for me. And it's got a meeting. So preparation suggestions. So it's troubleshooting our IT support. Here are a few things you might want to prepare. List of technical issues, patterns of recurring problems. So the more you give it, the more accurately it can help you. Now, Phil didn't have a lot of details in this meeting, just the title, but if in his Outlook calendar, if he had an agenda, Copilot's going to look at that agenda and make the preparation suggestions based on that. I'm in a sales training, so we do have reading and required coursework that we do each week. And actually, when I said help me prepare for the meeting, it laid out my homework, which was sent over in several different emails. So not even a single email, but 3 different ones that came from the organizer. So it encapsulated all 3 emails, let me know my homework for next week's meeting. Pretty cool. So that integration with Outlook becomes very powerful. We can also ask it to do the same request. So I'm going to say, what are the elements of a business continuity plan again? Now I am in the work environment. So rather than going out to the internet for this answer, what it is going to do, it is going to look in SharePoint, in OneDrive, in even Teams conversations and Outlook emails for the advantage answer to this question, not the internet's answer. And we're going to see that right here. So right off the top, it is linking me to specific organizational documents. that it is pulling this data from. So it is citing your sources. If AI has a couple problems that the industry is still working through, and we read about these in the news, right? So AI can hallucinate if it doesn't know the answer. Sometimes it's more focused on making you happy than an accurate answer. And that was the issue with ChatGPT 5 first came out. They've tuned it, they've improved it since then. So we don't see that as much. But in that initial week, that was one of the big things we were seeing. The other thing is you don't know what sources it's pulling from necessarily. Microsoft, because of their focus on business and focus on accuracy, they do want to let you know what sources it's pulling from, whether that's internal or external. So they're very strong on citations. So here's not the internet's definition of business continuity. This is Advantage's definition. This is the way we have defined it using documents that I've made, using documents that my colleague Kevin Dubois has created, or Phil has worked on, or Sean. And so it gives me that outline, which is our way of doing it. And then it will supplement with some external sources. And you can see how that's broken that out for me. Here's our stuff, and then here's external sources. If I'm missing anything, if I want to supplement. And then you'll notice here that I, again, can link to, I can go check out those external sources and make sure that's a legitimate source. Do I know that company? Do I know that writer? Do I trust their judgment? So you can look into this and verify before you use that information. But that ability to the way we define it at Advantage versus a random person defining it is a huge capability. The other thing you'll notice, and we can kind of see it from this, is none of these documents are called business continuity plan. Some of them aren't even directly about it. This is our Advantage Business Review template that we use when we meet with clients for quarterly reviews. So Copilot is also an evolution of Windows Search. If you remember back in the server era, you basically needed to know where exactly a file was or what it was named. Search didn't work very well. With SharePoint, you can know words in a file, and you'll be able to find it fairly easily. Copilot topically is enough. Even if those specific words don't exist in a file that you popped into the term, if it topically touches on it, it's going to find that file for you in our experience. So it's a much more capable search engine. Now, you do need to have your stuff in SharePoint if you really want to leverage it, but that's not hard to do. You can start in small chunks. You can prioritize which documents that we need to be accessible in Copilot. Maybe it's marketing materials, maybe it's sales materials or HR manuals. So those things can be done first without putting all of your company's data necessarily in there. And you can start leveraging that right away. So it's really good, again, for if you have your own way, you have your own processes, it will respect and follow that. Now, access to the data is usually a question at this point. Is Copilot going to churn through company's data that I shouldn't have access to? So let's try that out. I'm going to say, what is Phil O's salary? And the first time I did this with my colleague Michelle, who's our HR manager, she freaked out. But what we're going to see here is that Copilot has a lot of security fences. Microsoft has been doing security for decades. It's what they're good at. So the first thing it's going to tell me is, I can't share personal or confidential information. I'm not a member of the HR team. I don't have access to that SharePoint site. This is the other reason we love deploying Copilot, because the lead up to being able to deploy it, Microsoft has made that easy for us. If your SharePoint environment is configured with permissions and security groups, Copilot follows those permissions and security groups. If I don't have access to a SharePoint site, it will not look at that site when it's giving me answers. And so a lot of the work that normally companies have to do to prepare for AI usage is build these fences, build this security. If you're already on SharePoint and we're leveraging it with security groups and permissions, it's doing it for you. We don't have to spend that time we can start leveraging the tool right away. So I think before we move on, let's take a pause here. We are going to be in the next couple segments looking at specific Microsoft apps like Word and Excel. But does anybody have any immediate questions about using the Copilot app? It's the same in the website, and the difference between work searching and the free web searching. And you'll notice that as a paid license, I have the option to switch back and forth at will.
So Russell, we did have a question from a little bit earlier prior to when we had the chart up with the free versus paid. The question was, can Copilot read your email? And I'm assuming that means like your personal email account. Like, would they pull from that?
The free version does not. The paid version does. So the paid version does read your emails, and it becomes, yes, this would be a company email, right? So it's, again, following those Microsoft permissions. So anything that you have access to in your organization's Microsoft Cloud, Copilot has access to by default. So that includes your own emails. That includes the data that you have in OneDrive. That even includes team chats that you've been a part of. Yeah, great question.
Okay, well, hopefully if that doesn't answer it, just
We're
put
going to take a
note
look
in
at
the,
Outlook too, and I'll show you that. Yep.
put it in the chat and then we can revisit. And then there's one other question. Well, actually, there's two that just popped in. Can Advantage move my company to SharePoint? So, like, are we able to move,
Yes.
I guess, the company over to SharePoint if they're not already part of that?
Yeah, we have a SharePoint engineer in-house, Mike Schroeder, and we have several other members of the team who are also highly trained in it and supporting it. We're happy to help you move. Again, as I indicated, it does not have to be an all-in-one. In fact, especially if you're a larger organization, we recommend starting with targeted teams. One of the big pitfalls that we've seen in AI adoption, and there was a study from MIT released about this 3 weeks ago, is that the most successful companies, when they're adopting AI, they're trying to solve specific issues. They're trying to speed up specific workflows, fix specific problems, make specific processes more efficient. When you start with, I need AI, and then try to fit it in, you're not going to get that ROI in a quick turn. If you're focused on, here's somebody's job I want to speed up, here's a process I want to improve, then you're much more likely to get that ROI quickly. And so with that in mind, we may want to move everything to SharePoint right away. We may want to be very targeted. Which team is going to benefit first? Let's start with those people and then branch out as needed.
Now, in this question, it is timely because we're going to talk about this. Like, I know about the end, but can Copilot act as an AI agent?
Yes. So we are going to talk about this in our next webinar in October 8th, I think, right? We got that on the last slide, so we'll be sure. But yes, we'll actually be demonstrating Copilot agents and how those can work. And they can be very powerful. Copilot for Office, think of it more as a general assistant. It will be looking at your SharePoint data, obviously. Copilot agents are going to be very more focused, or any AI agents are usually built around particular teams or missions or types of workflows. And that can unlock a lot of interesting capabilities. So we will have a whole other webinar on that next week or next month.
Yeah, not next week, next month. Yeah, and that's all the questions. Oh, actually, another one popped up. And I don't know if we'll get into this later, but it's saying, asking if you could talk more about the privacy with AI versus using ChatGPT.
I do want to hit this now, and this is good because we've kind of been here a little bit. If you are signed into Copilot and you're using ChatGPT like this, it's very private. If you're using a paid version of ChatGPT, it's very private. If you're using the free version of ChatGPT, it's not. That data is being used to train LLMs. So If you're paying for ChatGPT or you're using it inside Copilot and you're signed in, it's private. If you're just on the free one, it's not. And that's going to be true of the free version of Copilot or Grok or any of the other major AI tools. So great question. And we can loop back to some of those questions at the end too.
All right. Thank you,
So,
Russell.
yeah, thank you. Let's hop over to Outlook. I think that's a nice segue. And again, what I'm going to do today is we only have an hour. This is the bits of the iceberg above the waterline. So we're showing you a few things today. There's a lot more you can deep dive into. Microsoft has a ton of training materials. You can just search for Copilot Outlook tips, for instance, and they're going to give you a ton of great things to do. So I'm going to hop over to Outlook and start with a couple examples that I like. So these are safe emails that I moved in, no sensitive information. But I've got a conversation thread from my colleague Caroline from Dell and our supplier TD Synnex, basically about how soon can we get a particular laptop model in stock? How quickly can we get it to the client? So this was a while ago. I get sent these a lot from my colleagues. I'll get sent a whole email thread. It may have four like this. It may have 10 emails in the chain. And I'll be, hey, Russell, can you comment on this? And a couple months ago, I was basically working my way down, through the chain, reading each email, getting myself up to speed. And obviously that takes a while, right? That takes a lot of time. So several, 5 minutes or 10 minutes to kind of read through, get myself up to speed, and then weigh in on it. Now I have this summarize button. So hit that. And in a few seconds here, I'm going to get an email summary, basically, usually 3 or 4 lines. Looks like 4. Here was the initial email. Here was the reply. Here was the follow-up. And here was a clarification. I can very quickly now reply back to Caroline and said, yes, this looks all right. Let's go ahead and order these. Again, we've gotten the citations that we've seen. Those are very important. So if I want more information, if I don't feel I got enough from the summary, I can click on that citation and, oh, now I can see the specific hardware specs. Let's say I needed to find that out. And here I know that they provided the detailed processor, memory, storage, and display. So I know that that's the right email for that from my summary, and I can click on that link and get the more information if I need it. So I love this summary feature. Use it all the time now. Saves a lot of time. You can summarize single emails too. It's great for newsletters, things like that. Let's condense this information. Do I want to go down and read that particular section of the newsletter? Now, let's say I want to reply. And I'm just going to leave my colleague Caroline on here. And let's say I want to reply here. Now, I don't need to know how I want to say it. I just need to know what I want to say. So I'm going to say order 2X if they can be here by end of next week. And we could do a little better than that, right? I just need to know the gist of what I want to say. It's fine to do bullet points. It's fine to do lines like do this, do this, do this. You don't have to worry about making it pretty. I can hit Copilot now, draft with Copilot, and it's going to automatically select the text I've typed in. I hit generate. And again, in a few seconds here, it's going to do, it knows I'm in a business. It's going to do a business toned email and saying, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to check in regarding the Dell Pro 16 Plus. Could you please confirm if we can place an order for 2 units and have them delivered by the end of next week? We're looking to ensure these are available for our client on time, and your assistance is appreciated. That says everything I need to say. It did get the name wrong. I was about to get that. Yes. So you want to be careful. Again, read through it. Remember, AI is new. It's getting better all the time. It's evolving all the time. Interesting enough, sometimes you can do stuff back to back. So when I ran this earlier in the day and my run through, it did correctly put Caroline. Here, it's putting Cassie because that was the last person to reply in this email chain. So you do still want to go through, make sure and read through it. But again, takes me 30 seconds to read it, a lot faster than typing it. And I can go in and change that to Caroline or just pick it from my address book. It actually brings that up. Yeah, so it is smart enough at that point to pull up my address book, look for that, pop her in. And then I can sit there and say keep. Actually, didn't fix that there. Let me fix that now. Or I can change it. Let's go back and change it. Let's say I wanted to change the tone. Maybe this is a little less formal or too formal. So I'm going to go back to draft with Copilot and take what I had, generate. I could also take my original thing. I've got an adjust button here. So now notice it's keeping it Caroline. So it learned, it fixed that. But I can make it longer. Usually I don't want to do that in business. Make it shorter. I use that all the time. I can also make it more formal, more direct, or more casual. So if I want to make it more formal, I'm going to generate now. I hope this message finds you well, right? So instantly we're more formal, and that may be the tone I want. Maybe I want to make it more casual. Again, it's going to reformat that for me. So this kind of leads us to one of the things we've discovered here at Advantage when it comes to Copilot and any of these AI tools. We're going to see a lot of uses for it today. Different people will leverage it for different things. So I am a very comfortable writer, and it's one of my skills that I pride myself on. I don't use it a lot for rewriting because I can write quickly. And sometimes it may actually slow me down if I'm going to Copilot. I do use it occasionally when I am struggling for something. I'm having a problem with the word choices. I'll bring it in then. Now, I have colleagues that do struggle with the right phrasing or wording, but they know what they want to say. So this saves them a huge amount of time. They use this every day. They use it multiple times a day. If they can just say, hey, send me this, well, that would be rude, but hit Copilot and now it's no longer rude, but it'll still have your request. So again, you may find that you're using this a lot or not. And then you can also give some feedback here. So, I could have said, oh, it was a little off with Cassie. I'm going to give a thumbs down for that's correct. So I think that's kind of what I want to touch on in Outlook. Again, there's a lot of more you can do. But again, if you're the kind of person that struggles with how do I phrase this? What's the right word choice here on a business email for this type of request? This is a lifesaver. Let's hop over, I think, to Excel. Then we're going to take a quick little break before we move on to Word and PowerPoint. Now, Excel is a hugely powerful tool, as you all know. This is probably enough that we may even do our own webinar just on Excel at some point. So I'm going to be very light on this one because the capabilities are so deep and I only have so much time. Before you get excited, this is a spreadsheet that Microsoft has been using for over 10 years, as you can tell from the dates that they publish as here's a place to test Excel formulas. So this is just a Microsoft demo spreadsheet. The most important starting place is you need to turn your spreadsheet into a table. So if you're not doing that, if you just have data but it's not formatted as a table, that is step one, is to highlight your data and whatever that is, and then you're just going to go up to here, format as a table. At that point, you've kind of unlocked Copilot capabilities. So one of the things I like to touch, so we have this button here. The button becomes unlocked. It becomes enabled if you have a paid license. You'll see, and you saw that in Outlook as well. We'll see that in Word and PowerPoint. I can hit this. I get a Copilot sidebar that opens up, and it's going to start me with some areas. It's going to make some suggestions for me. So this is also a good place if you're not sure what to do. Ask, right? It's an AI. You should just ask it directly in plain language. You don't want to be technical a lot of the times. You want to be very functional. I want to do this. I like going here to show data insights, and so that's what we're going to look at today. Hit that. And what Copilot is doing now, it's analyzing the table and it's looking at anything that sort of stands out as an outlier, that's unusual, it's interesting, that's a highlight, and we're going to see what those is. So it's going to show me cost of goods by date, and oh, wow, why did that go up? Why did that go down? Like, what's happening? Maybe I want to see that. And so I can look at that, but I'm actually going to see add all insights to grid. This is a nice tip. So hit on, and it's just a suggestion here. So add all insights to grid. And again, it's looking at the table and it's pulling out data that it thinks may be interesting to me. So this is also one of the potentials and capabilities of AI. If you know what you're looking for, great. But AI can sometimes help you with things you didn't know you were looking for. And Insights is an example of that. You may not have connected those dots together to figure out what's going on under the hood, but the processing power to the AI can help you do that. So, now I've got these interesting things that I can go back and look for, build a pivot table for, deeper analyze. So why are we having this fluctuation in cost of goods? What happened there? Or, oh, well, the government segment is higher than anything else. That's where we should be focusing, right? That's probably a fairly obvious insight, but maybe I hadn't put that together. I'm not sorted in that way on the table, but it was able to assemble that. And I can look at, manufacturing by product and year. It can do things like building charts, the stuff that I am not good at in Excel, building charts, but I have colleagues that are. So here's where I'm supplementing, right? I'm not using the AI as much for wordsmithing, but I am using it a lot in Excel because I'm weaker in Excel and it elevates me, it augments my abilities. So again, that's kind of all we're going to touch on in Excel today because there's so much you can do. I do urge you, again, look at some of the Microsoft curated videos. If you have something specific you want to do in Excel, pop that into the Microsoft help. Be specific about it, or just ask the Copilot agent how to do that. So I think before we move on, we're going to pause for quick questions related to Outlook or Excel before we hop on to Word and PowerPoint. And those will be pretty quick.
So we do have a question. It's not related to Outlook or Excel, but I think it's a really good question to address because there's possibly people that have this question as well. This person said that they have a lot of search chat history built up in their paid ChatGPT account. So it's built up a background of knowledge, obviously. So they were wondering, can that history in ChatGPT be moved over to Copilot? Or is that lost knowledge?
That is an excellent question, and I will need to look into that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Sonia, if you could track their name.
I did search it up because we got the answer because I wasn't sure if you would have it.
Yeah.
So I can address it if you'd like me to. But it says, unfortunately, the ChatGPT history cannot be directly transferred to Copilot since each platform has its own memory and personalization system. They don't currently support that. That's not to say that in the future it's not something that will be supported, but as for right now, unfortunately, there isn't that synchronization amongst them.
Thank you.
So hopefully that answers your question. If we want more detail, I'm sure that we can find more to go more in depth and give you more information on that if you're interested.
We do like to say when it comes to this AI stuff is if it's not there, wait 2 months. That's how fast it's moving right now. I mean, the capabilities of Copilot from just this February to now are night and day. That's how fast things are moving. So we'll keep our eyes on it. Yeah. Good one.
That was it.
All right, so let's take a look at Word and PowerPoint. And what I've got here is a Word document we wrote earlier this year about the upgrade from Windows 10 to 11. And this was an informational document we wrote for our clients. So first off, and this is just a page, but you can load any document in. You can load a PDF in, anything with text that can be read into Copilot. You've got that summarization right there. The summaries are very good in my experience. This is interesting. I haven't run into this before. There we go. So if you saw, I got a little error there. This is a cloud-based product. Same with ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini. If it doesn't work, try again, and usually it will. It's just probably a connection issue somewhere in the internet between you and the cloud servers. So you saw that I got a problem, I hit summarize again, and instantly got my answer. And I've noticed that with Gemini as well and some of the other tools. So nature of the beast at the moment, and I'm sure that'll get better over time. But I've got a really nice summary, tells me everything I want to do. I've got those same content and rewrite options that we have in Outlook as well. And you'll also notice as well, it gives me a little rewrite with Copilot right in the document. So I can hit that, auto rewrite, and it'll put it together. You notice I also had visualize as a table. I could turn a paragraph into a separated table for me. So there's a lot of capabilities in here. And I'm going to have the same options to, I can immediately replace it. Maybe I like the word or sentence order a little better. I also have options again to go here and I can say make it more formal or direct. Now, very important. And I had this stressed by a vice president of marketing at IBM at an AI conference earlier this year. She brought up the point that remember, these AI LLMs are built on aggregated data from billions of people all over the world. It is the average of that data. And she wanted to remind everybody, especially when you're coming to things like marketing, that that means the best it can produce is an average, or maybe a high average answer, right? It's going to be a good one. But if you need your voice, if you need your personality, your content, your organization's voice, you need to take it the last mile. If you're a writer, people recognize how you write, and they will recognize that you wrote this or the AI wrote this. So when that voice matters, that's when you want to spend additional time. So I can always take this. I can say, yes, let's use this, but I'm going to want to go through and do my own wordsmithing on it. If this matters, quick emails that are saying, yes, send me this, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. If I'm doing a newsletter, if I'm making an ad, I want to be very much aware to put my own voice into that and not leave it a more generic AI voice. So AI can be the starting point, build your outline, make sure you're covering all the topics, finish it up with your own skills. You're a winner. This was another study that came out last month where they did a study of devs, programmers, and they discovered that if you were a senior programmer, you had 5, 10 years of experience, you were familiar with the software, being asked to use AI tools actually slowed those people down. For junior programmers who've been doing this 1 year and weren't familiar with the software, it sped them up. So if you've mastered something, you may be faster at that than using, it may be just faster for you to write this out than go back and forth to the AI. That's one of the reasons we use as an augmentation or supplementary tool. It'll keep getting better, but that's sort of where we are now at this point in 2025. So all kinds of good stuff you can do in Outlook. Again, tip of the iceberg here, but I'm good at writing. I don't use it too much in Word. I'm not great at design, so I do use it a lot in PowerPoint. So let's do this. We're going to hop over to PowerPoint and popped up Copilot. I've got some options here. The first one, which I love, is create a presentation from file. So I can go in here, click reference a file. I can type in a file name. And I can go in here and actually select a recent document I've worked on. It remembers my history. So let's pull up that same document we looked at. And I'm going to say, create a presentation based on this document. And I'm going to say generate slides. Now, this is a more complicated request, right? So this is going to take maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Again, if you're asking it to do visuals and images, those are going to take longer. Visual AI work is developing at a very quick pace, so this will be better next year and faster. And pulling your slides together, creating your presentation, applying a design, keep it. And I have a really nice PowerPoint presentation in about 45 seconds. And this would have taken me an hour or more to do earlier this year. So I can go back to Copilot. I've got access to Designer. When I have a paid Copilot license, it improves the designer suggestions that we've been using for years. But I can go in here and at a glance, change my layouts, change my format, change how I want to present it. There are more design suggestions too. So I can then go through into anything. Let's make it more impactful on the first slide. There we go. It was that easy. And just hit save and I'm good. I found that this is very powerful. It works best when you've got a nice document like I started with. It's easier for it, but you can do it from big documents. I've even created ones from meeting notes. So that's our last thing. Let's hop over to meeting notes briefly, and then we will finish up for some questions. So PowerPoint's a great thing though. And again, I'm looking at it, where does it augment? Where am I weaker at? Visual design, this helps me out. So now we also have Teams and it's built into Teams. So when I'm doing a meeting like this, all I need to do to turn on AI is hit record in the meeting. We recommend that you always ask. We do not enable it by default because people have gotten into trouble by that. It will record that meeting and maybe you don't want that meeting recorded. Maybe you don't want those notes out. So by design and by recommendation at Advantage, we tell people hit record. Once you do that, about 5 minutes or so after your meeting ends, you are going to be able to go into Teams, open the meeting, and you're going to get this recap screen. And I did an earlier screenshot of basically one of our dry runs for this webinar. So I have a full video and audio recording of the entire meeting. It has who spoke. So this is good in a webinar. I should be the one speaking. If I'm doing a meeting with a possible client, I want to make sure that's a lot more balanced or they're doing more of the talking. So this was also good as a, Russell, you were talking too much. Funny that. And I could see that visibly right there. So very cool. It also gives me a full transcript, and actually, in that transcript, it's searchable, right? So there's a search box right there. I can search through the transcript. I can find a particular word or phrase. If I click on that line in the transcript, it is going to take me to that particular spot in the recording and start playing it for me. Very handy. We record basically almost all of our client meetings and a lot of our internal meetings this way. It's lovely to have those notes. It also gives me these wonderful AI meeting notes. There's a copy button, so I can just copy, paste that in an email, send somebody the notes right after the meeting. It's great to be able to do that 5 minutes after the meeting. And here are the notes. Make sure everybody's on the same page. It also do follow-up tasks. And a little word of caution here, I find that the meeting notes are highly accurate. I do read through these. If it's important, I want to make sure there's no mistakes in there, or there's nothing that I want to flesh out a little more. But usually the meeting notes, I don't need to modify anything. The follow-up tasks, Microsoft errs on the side of caution. So if you say discuss, oh, well, we want to do that webinar in Q2 2026, it's going to add that as a follow-up task. Work on the webinar for that we don't need to be working on probably till February, right? So it isn't as time context aware, but they would rather err on the side of caution. It's easier to edit out notes than to remember to put stuff in. So they will do that, give you extra, go through, clean them up. But we love this. We use this all the time. And one of the nice things is if you just need the note taker, so you're looking at, say, replacing Otter AI, something like that, Microsoft has a cheaper plan that is just this AI note taker. It's included with the full Copilot license. It's also available as a $10 a month standalone, what they call Teams Premium license. Let's probably, I think, segue into the pricing, and then we'll open up to questions because I'm watching our time here. So what's the next steps? What does the pricing look like? Copilot is a $30 a month license for the paid version. Free, please sign in, but it's free. It may seem like a lot. The business premium, which is the Office suite and email and all the bells and whistles, is only 22, right? But for me, the eye-opening moment was the first time I created a PowerPoint slide from it. That was something that would have taken me over an hour. And if you're like, okay, it's $1.50 a day, well, my time's worth a lot more than $1.50 for that hour. It paid for itself easily. And that's where you start seeing it. If you have workflows that this will speed up and save you that time, it's probably going to be worth it. The demand has been so high that Microsoft has made it an annual term. But if you're looking to evaluate, you can absolutely do so. You can trade the licenses to other people in your organization if you want to do a evaluation period. That's where most people start. Is we recommend taking a small group of users, 4 or 5 people that are the tech lovers, the people that are interested in the AI adoption, because they're going to be figuring out which workflows are best sped up in your organization, and how your team can leverage it best. And they become the technology evangelists for you, and help train and spread that knowledge throughout your staff. We're going to help you too, but you know your organization better than anybody else and where it's going to be helpful. So I think at this point, and I know we're a little bit tight on time here. We'll be better next month, but let's open it up to questions. I can hang around a few extra minutes if folks like and answer those questions.
Yeah, so there was like, 2 questions, but I think they're kind of similar, and it was in reference to PowerPoint.
Mhm.
We did put a response in there, but since we do have 2 minutes, maybe you could
Mhm.
answer it. But it said, will Copilot utilize pre-made templates for PowerPoint with the same information or a slide template?
Uh, from last time I tested it, yes. And you can load content into an existing template. We don't have time to demo that today, but yes, yeah, from what I've seen.
Yeah, and that was pretty much it
Yeah.
for questions.
So yeah, we will be looking at agents, which is again more topically focused Copilot tools. Um, yeah, and that'll be next month on October 8th. I think we had another question come
We
in.
did. You saw
All
that
right,
pop up.
I did. Well, I think it depends. I mean, the secure version of ChatGPT does cost you money, right? So I think the advantage of Copilot is that it is so plugged into everything that you've already provisioned in the Microsoft environment without having to do extra work. The time to adoption is radically shortened because there are no connectors to set up, there are no security permissions to review or evaluate. If you have data in SharePoint, you're ready to go basically. And so that's a big thing, getting ready for AI if your environment isn't prepared is a major factor to look at and something that we'll want to work with you closely on. Copilot takes almost all of that work away. And so lets you leverage it much more quickly and everything's plugged in and tied together.
All right. Well, as you said, we're finishing up right on the dot, so that's pretty good. I will be sending out information regarding our next webinar, which Russell mentioned is going to be on Copilot agents. That's going to be on October 8th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be on the lookout for that registration link and the information regarding that so you can register and join us next month. The hope is that we'll continue to do this like on a monthly cadence to learn about Copilot and AI and its ever-changing landscape.
And if you're an existing Advantage partner, you're ready to start your testing, take the plunge, please reach out to your client success manager, Phil, Deanna, myself, Antoine, and we will help you get started. If you're a guest today, please reach out to me. Again, happy to sit down. We want to build it in a way that works for your organization and not just blanket deploy AI. And that's what we're here to help you with.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.